What's up, guys? So today we're covering Linux basics. Now, I did do a video on this long time ago, but I want to redo it because I think that I can do it a lot better for one. But basically, what I'm going to cover here is some of the first things I do when I get on a new Linux box for one. The other thing is just basic traversal and things that you'll need to know just using Linux daily or just using it here and there, but things that you'll need to know. Firstly, thank you guys so much for the Patreon. We're getting a lot of support there. I will have these notes here on the Patreon. These are the Linux Basics notes, and it will kind of walk you through these as well. So if you guys like having the notes and the option to download them and use them, then feel free to join the Patreon. Also, we've reached 500 subs again, guys, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. I can't say enough about it. We're still doing the giveaway, so make sure you guys go ahead and like the video, comment, sub, follow the Twitter and the Discord, and we will be doing the giveaway on Discord in like 2 weeks, I think. So let's get into it, guys. I appreciate everything. All right, so first things first, when I first hop into a box, like the first time I get on a Linux machine, let's say whether I hack into it, whether I just sit down at a box, whatever you want to, however you get on it, right? First thing I do is I'll just type, who am I? Now, this is pretty self-explanatory command, right? Who am I? It's going to tell me who I'm logged in as, and here it's Stuffy. So why is this command useful? Well, when you get on a box that's new, especially if you hacked into it, you might not know who you logged in as. You might not know if you're already root, if you need to get root access, or if you're an admin or what. You don't know who you are necessarily. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And after each one of these, I'm going to type clear, guys, so that you can see. The other one we're going to do is PWD. So this stands for present working directory. One thing I want to say, guys, is you might want to write these down and just mess around with Linux and memorize these, because these are commands you're going to use all the time. So PWD stands for present working directory. You can see home, Stuffy, documents. That's where we're at. So what this is where we're currently sitting in the file structure. So the reason that's important is it would be like you going on Windows, and when you click through files, and then at the top it tells you like, hey, you're in C, program files, whatever. This is the same thing. It just shows you where you're at, so that if you need to go back or forward, or if you know where something is, that's where it's at. All right. So far pretty easy, right? We just have who am I and present working directory. Now, most of you are familiar with the ls command, but we're going to show you anyway. So this is ls. This is just the ls command. I just realized how bad I spelled harvester. I don't even know how that worked. Anyway, so the ls command's pretty basic, right? It lists what is inside of a directory, so ls list, right? But there is a couple things you can add to it. So ls tac l, this is long format is what it's called. So you can see it lists the permissions here, and I'll walk you through these. So the permissions, first off, the D stands for directory, so we know that's a directory. And then here you're going to have your root user, and it's telling you have read, write, execute permissions. Okay, perfect. So the root user has all the permissions, right? And then the other permissions are just users, and there is no, well, some people use groups in Linux, not many people do, so you shouldn't worry too much about that. But as long as you can read that you have read, write, and execute permissions, and then you can see execute and read permissions, and then execute. Okay. Which those are directories, so if you try to execute them, it's just going to error out, so don't worry about that. All right, so now we're going to cover permissions, how to change them and stuff later. That's why I'm just skimming through it, but I want to show you the long format of ls. It also shows you, you can see the times that they were edited and things like that, and who owns them and what group owns them. So good information to know. Keep in mind, guys, if you guys are watching this and you're very familiar with Linux, I'm not going to dive into details on this stuff, because this is supposed to be for people that are getting introduced to Linux. This is not for people that have years of experience on Linux. So there's no point in me trying to, hit you with a fire hose of information. It doesn't make sense. This is to get you to practice and just learn the basics of Linux. Just start your first box, your first Linux VM, and just get on there and mess around. That's the whole point. That's how you learn. All right, so now we did ls-l. Now let's do ls-tac-a. Now you can see here, there's these two extra files here, dot and dot dot. Now, I'm going to just show you guys real quick what this is for. So the A shows everything. It's kind of like if you've ever looked in Windows, when you're looking through the files looking at different files, there's a view button and it says hidden items. This is the same thing. You're viewing the hidden files. Now, if I made let's say I make a file, I just say touch, and we're going to make a file named hidden. So we put a period in front of it and name it hidden, right? Now, if we do ls, it's not there. We don't see it. But if we do a -a, you notice that it's right here, hidden. So what that is they're just hidden files that actually aren't really hidden. You can find them. They just have a period in front of them, right? Super simple. The period in front of them just hides them from everyday use. The reason why would you want to do this, a lot of people ask me that, is what if the file is like vital to the kernel, meaning if that file gets deleted, the machine doesn't know how to boot up properly and it's not going to work, right? So we don't want someone editing that, even by accident. We don't want them being able to type it and be like, oh crap. We don't want any of that. So just hide it. It's not a big deal. This isn't a security feature. I know a lot of people think, oh, this is great because I can hide these files and stuff. They're still findable. They're still easy. I mean, you just type in -a and you find it. So keep that in mind. It's not a security feature. It is a feature to help people from deleting and editing files they shouldn't. All right. So now we've got ls. Now let's go with how do we get help on Linux boxes, right? So we're just going to use Nmap, for example. So a lot of commands, if you just type the command with nothing, you can see we kind of get a help menu here. This gives us, oh, this is what it's looking for, the syntax that it's looking for. Here's some of the options, that type of stuff, right? And a lot of people are familiar with Nmap, so that's why I'm using it. So what we can do is we can type Nmap and we can type -h for help, and you'll see we get the same menu. Now we can also type, and you can do this with any command. That's why I'm using Nmap, but you can use any of them. You can do tac8 or tac help. Now the reason I'm showing you different ways to do the same thing is because some of them won't necessarily keep. So some of them, like for instance, Nmap here, if let's say we were using aircrack or any other tool, right? They might not have a tac-h. You may have to type out the full tac help. So that's why I'm showing you all of them. You see you're getting the same thing for all of them. Now, the other big one that I would say 99% of Linux binaries have is a man page. It's manual page is what it stands for. So this is the manual for the actual tool. So we'll say man, and we'll just do Nmap. Okay, and you can see this starts giving us a lot more information. Nmap, Network Mapper, is an open source tool. It gives us all the information, and you just go through them. And you can see, look at how much more information we're getting on this. I mean, we're getting a ton. So if you're really needing to figure something out, this is what you want. And keep in mind, that is going to be on 99% of tools. And usually they're very good if they were in the Linux repo. So, all right. So now we've got we got the help command. All right, we got the man pages. So keep those in mind because you're going to be referencing those a lot. Even if you're an experienced Linux user, most of the time you're going to reference man pages or help pages because it doesn't matter how experienced you are as a Linux user. If you're using a new tool, you have to know how it works, right? If you could be the best you could be a Linux admin for 20 years and never use Nmap, right? Because you're not network scanning or anything like that. And I give you Nmap, it doesn't mean you just automatically know how to use it, right? You have to look at those help menus. So don't feel like that's a bad thing if you have to look at those help menus because I still reference help menus all the time, okay? And I don't take the time to memorize certain things because I don't need to if they're sitting in that menu. So, all right, now finding files. This is a big one. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make a file, and this is just, we'll name it hidden file, right? And it's not actually hidden, but we're going to try and find it. So finding files, you just use the find command. So now, if we type find hidden file, right, you see that it just shows us that it's here. Well, that's because it's only searching this directory. So it doesn't have to search very hard. So now, if we specify we want to search the root directory, that means we want to search the entire computer, right? We want to search the entire computer, and we want to search for the name hidden file. So you have to specify name, okay? So now we want to search for that. Now when you hit this, watch what happens. Okay, so you notice we're getting a ton of permission denied. Okay, so that's kind of tough to sort through, right? We're getting a ton of these. So what can we do? Well, the reason we get these is because we're not sudo, meaning we're not root. So we don't have permission to access all those files. So what we can do, and this is a great command to know for any future, you could type 2, which is the error code, and you can send it to dev null, meaning just get rid of it, okay? So keep that in mind. Again, you might want to write these down because this is a great tool. Anytime you're getting a bunch of errors, it'll say, get rid of those errors and just show me what I want to know. And you can see, boom, that's all it gave me was it's in home, stuffy, documents, hidden file, which is exactly if you remember our present working directory, boom, we're in home, stuffy, documents. So we know exactly where that file is now. Now, what if we don't know the full name of it? Find, and we'll say, whoops, root directory again, and we're going to say name. Now we're going to say we know it's hidden, but we don't know the rest of it. So what if we do a wildcard, meaning anything with the name hidden and anything after it, okay? And then keep in mind we need to do the dev null again. And you can see, boom, the only thing in this computer with hidden in the name and then anything after it is our file. So you can see how easy this can get to find files you need, right? So the only other thing that I wanted to show you guys is you can specify as well the type. So you could say type file, and then that would tell you I'm looking for a file, and you could specify different types of files, different types of directories or different types of stuff. That way, if you know you're looking for an MP4 file or whatever the file is, you can look for those specific types. You can also look, because Linux, if you guys don't know, doesn't rely or depend on the extensions like Windows. Like if you make a hidden file and name it hiddenfile.txt, Linux knows how to or Windows knows how to open it. If you make a file named hiddenfile in Linux.txt and you run it with Python, it's still going to run, right? It's not going to say, oh, it's a text file, can't run it. It's still going to try and run it. So keep that stuff in mind, that Linux isn't as Linux doesn't check you as much. It just kind of does whatever you tell it, which is why a lot of people like it. Okay, so now we know how to find files. Now we need to be able to check the processes. What if you get on a Linux machine, it's running real slow, you're trying to figure things out. So first thing, PS, just stands for processes. You hit enter, boom. Now you can see the only two processes running that I'm running right now is bash, which is this terminal, and the process command that I just ran. Okay, so it's kind of like opening Task Manager on Windows. Usually you see a couple of things, but then if you go to more details, you're going to see everything running on the computer. That's what we want. So we're going to do PS tech E. So the E shows you everything, and you can see there's a ton here. Okay, so these are just all system files that need to run. Now, if we go ahead and clear this, let me show you guys something kind of nice. So if we just do PS tech E and then JH, and this is all in the man page, you can find all this. So the EJH, this is going to give us a tree. So you see a process tree. So for instance, this shows you that, okay, light DM's running, inside there's this Xorg's running, then inside there's this running, then inside there's this running, so on and so forth, right? So you can see that this actually breaks out a process tree for us and shows us the different ways that basically they're related, they're running together, that type of thing. So it's a very useful tool to know that. Again, I'm going through these fast because you guys can pause it, you guys can stop it, whatever. And then if you're on the Patreon, I have all this written down for you, so you have a list of these commands. But it's important that you guys just understand how to use these PS processes, that type of thing. Just memorize that part of it. You can find the rest with man pages, help pages, that type of stuff. All right, so another one that I'm going to show you guys, and this is just it's a cool way to look at the processes, but it's important that you know how to use grep. So PS tech E, right? Remember, it gives us this huge list. So now if we run it again, but this time we use a pipe. So that pipe, just the straight up and down, it's right above the enter sign. That pipe, what it does is it actually feeds into the next command. So now our next command is going to be what we call grep. So this is going to search in the processes that we just executed. It's going to search in there for whatever we tell it, and it's only going to show us the line of what we tell it. So I have one written down that I know is on here. We're going to say clock and applet. So that was one of the processes running. Now watch what happens when I run it, the processes, everything through grep. Boom, you can see it, because I searched for this specific word, there's the word, and then here's the line it was on. So now I have the process ID number, and I can actually utilize that rather than go through that whole list of stuff. So if I'm opening a huge document or something and I'm looking for, like, let's say, for instance, I'm looking for a password, I could say cat, which we'll cover here in a sec, and that reads a file, and then I could say grep for password. And then it's going to search that whole document, and it's going to give me any lines with password on it, okay? All right, so now we've got processes. All right, so now modifying files and directories. So this is kind of the bread and butter of what you're going to be doing, day to day, everything. But what you're going to do, so you just saw me use the cat command. So in our hidden file there, if we cat it, hidden file, there's nothing there, right? Well, that's because I didn't put anything in it. So what we can do is let's go ahead and remove it so that we can start fresh, okay? Now, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So we have no hidden file in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say cat hidden file. Now watch what happens here. So you see that I put the greater than sign? That means feed into it, basically. Now look, you notice it's just blinking. What it's doing is it's asking me to put information. This file is hidden and shouldn't be found, right? We'll just say that. And now you're going to hit Control D. Maybe. There we go. All right. Now, whoops. If we see there's a hidden file in there, now if we cat it, cat will read it to us. It shows us what it is. So keep that in mind. You're going to use cat all the time to read files. Okay, and you see right there it says this is a hidden file and shouldn't be found. So perfect. So we figured it out. So now we know how to create documents, right? And now keep in mind I'm only showing you guys ways to do this from the terminal. You could, with certain Linux distributions, there's a text editor up here. I could use that, all kinds of stuff. So here we go. We got the hidden file. Now what if we wanted to add something to that, right? So now if we just say cat and hidden file is the name that we want, right? So if we just do this, it's going to do the same thing. It's asking us for information, and we're going to say, oh no, someone opened it, right? And then we hit there. All right, so now watch what happens when we cat it. This file is hidden and shouldn't be found. Oh no, someone opened it. So it added that, the double greater than sign, added that to the end. So that's pretty cool. That means we can add stuff to the end of the file. And there's terminal text editors that you can use as well to edit the file directly. But we're not going to cover that in this video, but I might go into detail on how to use some of those later on. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now another way we'll go ahead and remove that. All right, so now keep in mind another way, there's multiple ways to create files. You could just do touch, hidden file. Okay, so now you see that creates it, but there's no contents in it. There's nothing in it. Okay, now touch is very good for if you're wanting to touch a document. Now you might ask me, why would I want to just touch a document? It doesn't make any sense. But documents have timestamps of when they were accessed. So let's say you did something to a file and you did it, a week ago, but you don't want someone to be able to go back in the logs a week ago and look at that, because then they'll start tracing out what you did. You could just say, just touch that file, and then it resets it to, okay, it was accessed today, right? So then the next time they go to look at the logs, they're like, oh, it was accessed today. It's still functioning, whatever, right? It just allows you to manipulate files. It allows you to access them without actually changing anything. All right. So now you guys have seen this one quite a bit. You've seen me do CD a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a directory. So we're in documents. We're going to make dir. So make directory. Now you just put the name. And we're going to say, we'll keep the theme, hidden, right? So now you see when we ls, there's a hidden file and a hidden directory. So we want to go into the hidden directory, right? So we're going to cd, change directory. This is probably the most important one you're going to use. Change directory, and we want to go into hidden. Now you see when I ls in there, there's nothing in here. Okay, so let's go back and move that hidden file into the hidden directory. So we cd and we do 2 periods, space 2 periods. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go back 1 directory. So now you see, and you can follow this along here with documents. Then now we're in documents hidden, and then here we go back to documents. So now we'll clear this out. Now what we want to do is we want to take the hidden file and put it into the hidden directory. So how do we do that? So we're going to say mv for move. So move hidden file, and then we specify where we want to move it to. We want it in hidden. Now we just hit enter. And now look, it's gone. So now we cd into hidden, and then there's our hidden file. So mv moves files, but it also does something else. It actually renames files. So mv, and we're going to say hidden file, we want to rename it. Now, instead of moving it to a new directory, we don't want a new directory. We're just going to put a new name. So we'll name it hide. Okay? Now watch. Now you see the only file we have is hide, because it just renamed hidden file to hide because we didn't specify where to put it. We just put a new name in there. So it just moves it into a new name. So that's how you rename files. All right. So now we showed you how to move it. Now, how would we delete a file, right? So let's go ahead and delete this one. And you see that we've already covered that, or I've already done this a few times, but all you're going to do is rm for remove. I just need to remove the file. So hide, whoops, rm hide, and you see it's gone. So that's it. Rm deletes it. Now, what if we wanted to go back one, and let's say we wanted to delete this hidden, right? So we could just do rmdir, which is remove directory, and we could say hidden. But what if that hidden had a file in it? Then what, would we have any issues? Let's see. So let's go back into hidden. We'll go ahead and touch hide. That's a new file. So now we'll go back to documents. So now hidden has a file in it. So what if we just do remove dir hidden? Failed to remove because the directory is not empty. So we can remove empty directories with just remove dir, but it's not going to remove it if it's not empty. So what do we need to do? We need to put tac r for recursive, meaning anything inside of it, right? Okay, so now it says tac r invalid option, da da da. So let's go ahead and look at what the issue is. And I know what the issue is, but I just want to show you guys. Okay, so ignore fail on empty. Okay, so you can see the remove dir says if they are empty. Okay, so one thing I'll tell you guys is remove dir works on some operating, or on a lot of Linux flavors, but what you can do here is just do remove tac r hidden, and now it's gone. Now I know that doesn't make sense, but remove dir is the actual command to remove directories, but for some reason on certain flavors it only will remove hidden directories, and some flavors you can use the tac r. So if you can't use the tac r on yours, depending on whether you're using Kali, Parrot, Ubuntu, whatever, just try the regular rm for remove. So just keep in mind that rm is remove, okay? Okay, so now last but not least, but we're going to do permissions. Okay, so this one we'll go ahead and make a file. So we'll go ahead and say cat, and we'll say boom, 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 and we'll say hidden again. We'll name it that, and we'll say hidden file. Doesn't really matter, right? All right, so now when we have it in there, you see hidden. So let's go ls tac l, and you can see all we have right now is read, write, read, read. Okay, cool. So let's change this. So there's a couple ways to do this. So change mod is the main way, right? It's the only way, but you can do a couple different commands. So you can do plus, and you can say plus X. This will add execute permissions, right? You could say plus R to add read permissions, and you could say plus W to add write permissions, okay? And then it's the exact same opposite. if you wanted to take away write permissions, minus W, take away read permissions, minus R, so on and so forth. Now, the difference is I like to use the number scheme. The number scheme allows you to kind of control more than normal. So the way the number scheme works, so 0 means no permission. We're giving no one permission, right? Now, 1, this is just an execute permission. So 1 is just execute, meaning now if this was a script or something, I could execute it. 2 is write permissions, meaning I can now write to the file. And then 4 is read permissions. Now, you can add them all together. So 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. So 7, 7, 7. So what this will do, will give everybody full permissions on it. Now, you'll see that here, and I'll explain why. Okay, so now when we do ls-tach-l, you see hidden, and you can see everybody has read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Now, you can see because I specified 3 7s, that's why it's read, write, execute, read, write, execute. If I did 7 0 0, just root would have read, write, execute, read, write, execute, or these other two would be nothing. You wouldn't have any permissions. Now, the way you get 7, right? Let's say, watch if I do 7 6 6. This is a pretty common one too. So if you do 7 6 6 on hidden, watch what happens. Now we do clear ls-tach-l, and you see now we have read, write, execute, then read, write, read, write. Okay, so what happened? Well, the 7 is the first row, the 6 is the second, the 6 is the third. So how do we get these numbers? Well, if you remember, 1 is execute, 2 is write, and 4 is read. So 6 would be 4 plus 2, which is read, write. Now, if we want to do 5, which would be read and execute, then there you go. So it's only, you just have to know those 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 4, and then you just do the math on them. Now, I know this is a little bit more of a complex way than just plus minus XR or WXR, but I like that way because I can manipulate them a little faster. That's how I learned. So that's why I do it. But it doesn't really matter how you do it. And then one last thing, if you wanted to change the owner, it's just change own, and then you specify the owner and the file name. So it'd be stuffy, and then the file name is hidden. Now, I'm already the owner of that, so I'm not going to change it. But that's it, guys. This is basic Linux traversal, basically how you're going to get around in Linux, that type of thing. Hopefully you guys like the video. Hopefully you guys like these types of videos. I know a lot of people, this may be a little bit more advanced or a little less advanced than what some of my videos are used to, but I also want to make sure people can still get into cyber and get into Linux rather than just dedicate my channel to people that already know this stuff, right? We want to start with the basics and work our way up, but we also want people that are watching the videos going, this is so cool, but I don't know how to do it. We want them to get up to speed too. So we have to sprinkle these videos in, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's important that people start learning this stuff, even if they're not necessarily into cyber, but just trying to get into IT. So hopefully you guys liked the video. Hopefully you guys learned something. And if you did, please like the video, subscribe, and comment below what you learned. I appreciate you guys, and you guys have a great day.